All right, so we've really covered a lot of the intro stuff, the reasons why the war took place. Let's get into the war itself now a little bit here. And so we know the spark array, which was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, a guy who was, in reality, pretty moderate, but was still Austrian. He was visiting Sarajevo, in the Serbian area of Austria-Hungary. And the assassination where Gavrilo Princip shoots someone when his driver goes on the wrong street, on a whole long story that's there. Here's your assassin, obviously Gavrilo Princip, 19-year-old kid who was dying of tuberculosis. Now, it's interesting how people kind of want to quantify him. What is he? Was he a murderer, a terrorist? What is he? I don't know. I mean, obviously he's a member of this ultra-nationalist Black Hand organization group that are totally hopped up on this nationalist Serbian rhetoric. The idea we're going to have a Serbian country for Serbians, and all Serbians are being mistreated by the Austro-Hungarians. When this happens, obviously the question is who's to blame, right? Because you have a dead, you have the dead heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, which is not good, obviously, right? And you got to figure out what's going to happen. So one of the things that we look at the alliances come into play, and one of the things that Kaiser Wilhelm does is he basically says we're going to honor that, we're going to honor the alliance we made with Austria-Hungary. We're going to give you he called it the blank check, so he calls it. And you guys read that for homework the other night. And essentially, Austria made these huge demands with a lot of anti-Serbian stuff, and punishing all Serbians for the execution and the assassination of the Archduke. And honestly, Serbia actually agreed to a lot of the demands that Austria-Hungary made, and they gave a lot of that kind of stuff to it. But there were some definite things that were kind of happening within that. But we get to July 28th, and by that time, Austria finally declared war on Serbia. And so all these alliances come into play then. So on July 28th, Austria declares war on Serbia, basically says Serbia had not, done the demands. By July 29th, Austria starts fire artillery shells across the border into Serbia. So it's your first military aggression. Now it's basically being called the Third Balkan War, essentially. Obviously, Russia, who has an alliance with Serbia, has got to say, nope, I help my homies out. And they mobilize their armies against Austria and Germany, since Germany is backing up Austria. France has mobilized against Germany's western border. And then things which are hit the fan when Germany declares war on France on August 3rd. And what they're going to follow something called the Schlieffen Plan. So the Schlieffen Plan was to go around France. So there are rules to war, okay? There are basically rules to war at this point. We have our two sides are set. The Central Powers, our Triple Alliance, which are Germany, Austria, Ottoman Empire. Also throw Bulgaria there too, but whatever. Okay, you have your allies, your Triple Entente, which is Britain, France, and Russia. Later we'll see Japan, US, and Italy jump on there too, okay? But remember, France had amassed their soldiers right here on the border, because you don't go through neutral countries. Belgium's a neutral country. You don't put soldiers there, okay? The Schlieffen Plan that Germany had was basically, we need to attack France quickly, take Paris, and then get our butts back to the other side before Russia can mobilize all their troops. They knew that Russia was a really, 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 really big country. With their lack of railroads, lack of industrialization, take a long, long time for them to get their soldiers from all over, Siberia to the Eastern Front. And so their idea is that, okay, we're going to come over, we're going to run through, we're going to attack France, take over France, run back, then take over, then fight Russia. It didn't work, though, okay? They actually pushed all the way through Belgium. Obviously, the whole Belgium thing is a big issue because Belgium is a neutral nation, so they kind of broke all the rules of war right here. You can also argue there are no rules of war, but whatevs, okay? And that's a whole other case in a second here to go through Belgium. The Battle of Marne in September of 1914, because then within 6 weeks, they're pushing right here. They're in a couple miles of Paris here. And eventually, you finally have British and French forces that push push the Germans back. And, we started hearing all these things about atrocities happening in Belgium. You hear the stories of all these stories start getting spread around when they go through Belgium. They literally call it, and I quote, the rape of Belgium, because they're talking about, nuns being raped, little kids being killed and assaulted, all that kind of stuff, and things being burned down. Here are the posters you see posted around France and around Britain saying, remember Belgium, come join, that kind of stuff, because of what they do. And so the Battle of the Marne, and we're bringing it back here, Marne's over here, and the Marne River is what really stops the German army. They put a bigger fight. Here's where we start seeing trench warfare, and essentially the end of mobility stops here. It really failed because, one, the Belgians resisted a lot more than Germany thought they would. I mean, they expected to walk right through Belgium and walk right into France, and the Belgians put up a pretty good fight. Even though they had a lot of old forts and stuff and a little old style fighting, but they still put a really, really good fight. And the other part is that the goal for the left of the line, so this one right here, their goal was try and get the French army to attack, because really one of the strategies that both plans were planning to attack, right? But their goal was to try and get the French army to go into trying to suck them up here into Luxembourg and Germany, and they didn't. Instead, the French army got back fast enough that they were able to defend Paris and fight against the Germans and try to keep things there. And also, the other problem was the Russians got in the game a lot quicker than anybody thought they would. And so they had to pull a lot of German troops from right here and some order to attack Russia. And lastly, the Marne was successful. Now, the way that what happens now is we're going to have this period now of trench warfare. But with the whole idea of Belgium, all kind of stuff, it's almost like a cheerful kind of thing, which is really kind of weird. I mean, all the countries are promising, woohoo, national, let's go fight a war. Everyone's pretty happy and excited to go. They're singing songs, all that kind of stuff. They're saying we'll be home by Christmas, all those things, kind of things. When they go into this war, they're not expecting it to be this crazy, okay? They're not expecting what they're going to get. Everyone's all excited and ramped up on the nationalist rhetoric, all that kind of stuff. We're going to go fight and kick some tail, all those kind of things. And they hadn't seen a major war in a long, long time. They hadn't seen a modern war yet. And they know what the bad things were going to happen as they go. And here are all these recruiting posters, famous one here, see, your country needs you with King George, all that kind of stuff. You see these guys taking their photos in their dress uniforms, showing off everybody. We see people, saying goodbye. You have here recruits of Austro-Hungarians and Central Powers. You have young men, old men. Everybody kind of jumps on this whole deal here. You didn't have to draft a lot of people. It was more... At least, all right, you draft a lot of people volunteer for this because they thought, oh my gosh, let's go fight, let's go do all these great things. These guys are walking up to war, there's smiles on their face, and those smiles are going to go away very, very soon. They get the reality of what's going to happen. You have little kids pretend to be soldiers. I mean, look how many soldiers they got very, very quickly within a year. I mean, we're mobilizing 12, 10, 8, 6 million people for battle, boom, like that. Everybody's volunteering for it. But what they get is not what they expect. They're expecting glory. They're expecting all these old ideas of war. They get this multi-front war, which is really, really messed up, okay? They get the stalemate of the Western Front, a German butt kicking by the Germans on the Eastern Front, and they also get a colonial front as well. So your Western Front is, and you guys already know this probably a lot from previous study of trench warfare, right? They dug these trenches out, try and stop the advance, and utilizing new technology they had, they could cover a whole trench with machine guns. That made things a lot easier. So here's your trench warfare. So here's on one side where you have your no man's land, this area between the two trenches. You have your frontline trench where your soldiers will be fighting, going over the top and charging to take the trench on the other side. You have connecting trenches that would go back to your reserve trenches. You bring reserves up and fight. And so the only way you did was your goal was to gain ground, right? So you had all this new technology. You had mortars and artillery shells and guns and machine guns, all those kind of things. You had to run across this no man's land, which looks like this, right? It's all shredded apart by artillery and machine guns, those kind of things, and jump in the next trench and take it over. And then go to the next trench, take it over. Go to the next trench, take it over. Well, you attack in mass one way, you attack in mass next way, and honestly, nobody really goes anywhere at all. And that's what it was. It was literally a battle of attrition because you had these massive casualties on both sides, and the main lines don't shift much more than a few miles for many, many years. Example, this is the Battle of Verdun in February 1916. It was 2 years after the war started, right? Basically, Germany said, we're going to do this. We're going to throw so many people at France that we will, and I quote, bleed France white. Basically, we're going to try and kill as many soldiers as possible and wear France down so we can just walk in and take the place over. And so, in this battle here, as Germany keeps throwing men at France, whatever, France does lose 540,000 men, Germany 430,000, leading to General Philippe Pétain becoming this big national hero. But it's this idea of you have massive, massive, massive casualties as these battles go on. The Somme is another example where literally British sent soldier after soldier after soldier, wave after wave into German machine guns, only to have them mowed down left and right. And this battle lasts for 5 months. We're talking over 1 million total battle casualties. Is in July of 16, right, where the British lose over 420,000, the French 200,000, Germany lose over 500,000 people. And it sounds bad, but they didn't really figure out how to fight this war. And that was probably the worst part of it, is that they didn't really figure out how to actually do this. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what a lot of the problem was. And, war is truly hell. You kind of see the visual here of this, of the damage that weapons did, barbed wire that people get strung up in, their bodies would stay there for days, artillery shells that could blow pieces apart. You notice the number of missing arms and legs and those kind of things, whether it be mortar wounds or bullet wounds that lead to amputation, those kind of stuff. I mean, honestly, the artificial limb business kind of became popular because of World War I, little artificial other pieces too. These are big bulls that they're flying around here, and a lot of guys are getting very disfigured and injured and killed as a part of it. You see some of the new technology, like the Big Bertha here, which could throw these huge artillery shells that would blow people apart left and right. And a lot of that new technology definitely played a role in terms of the casualties that are thrown apart as we have this big, huge war of attrition. The Eastern Front's a little different now. Okay, the Eastern Front's more mobile. You don't have the trench warfare. You have a lot more stuff happening. The biggest thing that happened in the Eastern Front was the Gallipoli disaster, which was now the Ottoman Empire in Turkey, where the British tried to land all their soldiers on the Gallipoli Peninsula and just got mowed down by Turkish and German machine guns. So you see Turkish, cavalry who fought against the British. One of the things that the British tried to do is try to use their colonial contacts to try to have the Arabs revolt against the Ottomans, who are happy with the Ottomans. Lieutenant T.E. Lawrence, who was a British officer working in Cairo, was sent to kind of help spur on the Arab revolt. They did a lot of guerrilla warfare attacks against the Ottomans with the help of British munitions and that kind of stuff, destroy railroads and transportation lines, those kind of things. With King Faisal, Prince Faisal, who becomes the king of Saudi Arabia, those kind of things as time goes forward there. You also have the fighting in the Eastern Europe, where you have, Russia had a lot of men's, but they couldn't really think about stuff. There's a problem. They had all these casualties and that kind of stuff. They're very poorly organized, and they would throw man after man after man, wave after man, just mass numbers. They didn't have the weapons or the technology to actually, be successful. And so we're talking, they're going to have, close to 13 million casualties of war as they throw man after man after man after man after man into these battles yet. Russia actually ends up leaving the war early in 1917 as part of the Communist Revolution. We'll talk about this next week. We talk about the revolution in Russia, but one of the reasons that the revolution happens is because the army is doing so terrible and they're losing the war. I mean, Tsar Nicholas goes to the front line and tries to personally fire the army and lead them, and they fail as well. And eventually they sign the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, which is where Lenin will sign that treaty that officially, ends the war, and Russia's out, but had to give Germany a whole bunch of territory as part of their deal. And the question is, will that deal, end up, working? And so this Eastern Front is really looking at, Gallipoli or, the Russians. Gallipoli is a huge disaster because of, they're trying to land to take the Dardanelles Strait and control Constantinople. And, 200,000 British soldier troops just get killed or wounded. At that one, Eastern Front, where 13 million British are killed. I mean, things are just, not good. You know what I mean? You also have fighting in the colonial front. It's what they kind of call a world war, because you have the fighting in colonial as well. So you see different soldiers fighting for different colonial powers throughout the world. So you have it fighting in India between, German soldiers. Here are some Sikh soldiers in India who fight on behalf of the British. You have, a lot of soldiers from India go fight in Africa against the German colonies. So here are black German soldiers fighting against British Sikh soldiers as they fought in Africa, different places. This is the Nigerian Brigade. So this is another British brigade that are armed by the British, that kind of stuff. You have fighting in Greece. So this is French infantry from China, from China and Vietnam that are brought in to fight on behalf of the French. in Greece. I mean, so really, it's a huge war that way, and we're going to take a look what happens with the war and the impact of the war, and see what kind of technologies roll out that way. We'll talk about technologies in class on Tuesday. You're already done by the time you get to this, probably, so you already have that ready to go. Thank you all very much. You have a great time.